Ladies and gentlemen, in the world today, we are constantly bombarded with noise, opinions, judgments, distractions. Every day there's a new trend to follow, a new guru offering the secret to success, a new piece of advice that's supposed to change your life. But what if I told you that the most powerful thing you could do in 2025 isn't to chase every new strategy, but to simply stay silent? Focus on yourself, tune out the noise, and listen to your own voice. In silence, there is a power that no amount of external validation or advice can give you. We live in a society that values being busy, being heard, and always being in motion. The louder you are, the more you're seen, the more you talk, the more attention you get. But this constant noise, this need to be constantly in front of others, does something to us. It drowns out the most important voice, the voice within. And it's this voice that holds the power to transform your life. I remember when I first started my journey to success, I was like many of you, thinking that if I could just hustle hard enough, if I could just network enough, if I could get my name out there enough, then success would follow. I ran around talking to everyone, trying to get noticed, trying to build my reputation. But do you know what happened? I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and nowhere near the success I thought I was chasing. It wasn't until I took a step back and realized that true power isn't in the noise, it's in the quiet moments. It's in the stillness, when you're alone with your thoughts, when you can hear your true desires and aspirations. That's where the transformation begins. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is where strength is forged. When you stop trying to please everyone, when you stop talking just to fill the space, you create room for something incredible to happen. You hear your own inner voice. You tap into your true potential, that voice, that wisdom within you. It has been there all along, but we rarely take the time to listen to it because we're too busy listening to everything else. And here's the truth. Success doesn't come from chasing the loudest voices or following every new trend. Success comes from within. It comes from mastering the discipline of listening to yourself, of trusting your instincts, and most importantly, of quieting the noise around you so you can focus on what truly matters. And the world that tells us to chase external validation, to keep moving, to always be doing, it's crucial to remember that success doesn't come from action alone. It starts with discipline. The discipline to quiet the chaos, the discipline to focus on your inner work. I see so many people struggling because they lack this discipline. They want results, but they don't want to do the hard work of mastering their mind and emotion. They look outside themselves for answers, when in reality everything they need is already inside. The world will constantly try to distract you, but your ability to focus and stay disciplined, even when the noise gets louder, is what separates those who succeed from those who just get swept along by the current. I used to live in scarcity. I thought I wasn't enough. I thought I didn't have what others had, that I didn't have the same opportunities. I looked at people who were successful and thought, that's just not for me. But everything changed when I started to turn inward. When I began focusing on myself, on my mindset, on my growth, that's when things started to shift. I stopped seeing the world as a place of scarcity and started seeing it as a place of abundance. But that shift didn't happen overnight. It happened when I stopped listening to the noise and started listening to myself. And that's the key to personal transformation. Realizing that abundance isn't something outside of you, it's something that starts within you. It's not about what you have or what you don't have, it's about what you believe about yourself. When you focus on building yourself up, the rest of the world will follow. The opportunities, the success, the wealth, they'll all come. But it starts with you. Too many people are focused on what they can get from the world But true wealth comes from what you build within. Your mindset, your heart, your work ethic, your focus. These are the things that determine the trajectory of your life. And when you build a strong foundation from within, nothing can shake you. Not the opinions of others, not the setbacks, not the challenges you face. But because when you are rooted in your own belief in yourself, in your own abilities, everything else becomes secondary. Your true wealth is not in your possessions or your title or the approval of others. Your wealth is in your mind, your heart, and your focus. It's in how you show up for yourself every day, in how committed you are to your own growth, because the world is a reflection of what you project from within. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you begin to see that success is not an external destination. It's an internal journey. And once you master that journey, everything else follows. So, I'm here to challenge you today. As we head into 2025, make the decision to tune out the noise. Stop chasing after every new idea, every opinion, every piece of advice. Instead, focus on yourself. Take the time to listen to your own voice. Commit to your own growth. Make silence your ally. Because the truth is, the more time you spend in the quiet, the more you'll uncover about who you really are and what you're truly capable of. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to be constantly moving to make progress. The real magic happens when you embrace the silence, when you focus on yourself, and when you trust that everything you need to succeed is already inside you. So as you look toward the future, remember this: the power is in your silence. And that, my friend, is the best advice you can follow in 2025. Success doesn't start with action. It starts with discipline. Discipline over your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy. We live in a world that's obsessed with immediate gratification and external recognition, but the real power comes from mastering your inner world first. It's the ability to focus on your goals even when the world tries to distract you with its noise. The true test of your success is not how loud you can shout or how much attention you can grab. Is how consistent you are, how disciplined you are when no one is watching. This is where the real work happens. I want you to imagine a moment in your life when you felt truly at peace with yourself. Not because everything around you was perfect, but because you knew exactly what you were working toward. And you were focused, undeterred by distractions. This kind of focus is rare, and it doesn't come from being constantly busy or spreading yourself thin trying to please everyone around you. It comes from the ability to focus on what matters and shut out the noise. I'll tell you this: there are so many people out there with incredible potential, people who are capable of achieving greatness. But the reason they don't is because they lack discipline. The discipline to say no to things that aren't aligned with their vision. The discipline to put in the work when it's hard. The discipline to keep going even when it feels like no one is paying attention. I've seen it so many times in my own journey and in the journeys of others. People who have all the talent in the world but lack the discipline to harness it. Talent alone isn't enough. It's the consistent, focused effort that transforms potential into achievement. You see, motivation is fleeting. It's easy to get pumped up when things are going well, but it's discipline that keeps you going when the excitement fades, when the results aren't immediate, when you're faced with obstacles that seem insurmountable. Motivation will get you started, but discipline will get you to the finish line. Let me share a personal story with you. Early in my career, I was eager to prove myself. I had the drive, the vision, and the desire to succeed, but I lacked discipline. I would start projects and jump from one idea to the next without fully committing to any of them. I was constantly chasing the next shiny object, believing that success would come from trying everything. But the truth is, success doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things consistently. It wasn't until I decided to focus, to eliminate distractions, and to work on mastering my discipline that things truly began to change. I stopped chasing after the next big thing and started focusing on the process, on the day-to-day work that would get me closer to my goals. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't fast, but it was the only thing that actually led to the success I had been searching for. When you choose discipline, you're choosing a path of long-term fulfillment over short-term excitement. You're choosing to show up every day even when you don't feel like it. You're choosing to put in the work even when it seems like no one else is. And here's the beautiful thing about discipline. It doesn't require external motivation or validation. It comes from within. It's about making a decision to do what you need to do, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It's about creating habits that align with your goals and sticking to them, even when it's tough. We're living in a world where everyone wants instant results, but the truth is that mastery takes time. It takes years of showing up, practicing, and staying disciplined, even when the progress seems slow. There's a saying that goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But what people often forget is that it takes thousands and thousands of steps to complete that journey. The first step is easy. The first step is exciting. But it's the 1,000th, the 2,000th step that tests your resolve, that separates the dreamers from the doers. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when the road gets hard. It's what keeps you consistent when everyone else is quitting. It's what makes the difference between someone who talks about their dreams and someone who actually achieves them. And the best part is, discipline is available to everyone. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. The power to change your life is in your hands. And it starts with your ability to discipline yourself. So many people think success is about talent, connections, or luck. But I've learned that it's actually about your ability to discipline yourself to do the things that are hard, to do the things that others aren't willing to do. It's about waking up early when you'd rather sleep in, working on your goals when you'd rather relax, and keeping your focus when the world is trying to distract you. Success doesn't come to the most talented person. It comes to the person who is willing to do the work, day in and day out, no matter what. And let's be clear. I'm not saying you won't face setbacks or challenges. You will. We all do. The difference is when you have the discipline to keep going, to keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll eventually see the fruits of your labor. Discipline doesn't guarantee an easy path, but it guarantees progress. It guarantees that no matter what happens, you will move closer to your goals every single day. And that, my friends, is the foundation of real success. So as you look ahead to 2025 and beyond, I want you to remember this. The most successful people are not the ones who are the most talented, the most connected, or the luckiest. They are the ones who have mastered the art of self-discipline. They are the ones who wake up every day and do what needs to be done even when it's hard. They don't wait for motivation. They create their own. They don't rely on the opinions of others. They trust their own vision. If you want to achieve something extraordinary in the coming year, it's time to focus on discipline. It's time to stop looking for shortcuts and start doing the work. Because in the end, discipline is the key that unlocks all doors. And once you master it, there's nothing that can stop you. I want you to think about something for a moment. We are all born into a world where we are told what's possible and what's not. We look at the lives of others and often believe that what they have, what they've achieved is beyond our reach. We think that person is special. They have more opportunities than I do. They were born with something I don't have. This mindset, this belief in scarcity is something that holds so many people back from realizing their true potential. I used to think this way. I believed that success was something reserved for the select few, for those with a certain background, a certain advantage, or a certain set of circumstances. I felt like I was missing something. I thought that the opportunities in life were limited and that there just wasn't enough for everyone. I let that belief shape the way I saw the world, and it held me back for far longer than it should have. But then something shifted. I began to understand that abundance isn't something you find outside of yourself. It's something you create from within. It's a mindset. It's the belief that there is enough for everyone, that the world is full of endless opportunities, and that your success isn't limited by your circumstances. The only thing holding you back is the belief that there's a shortage, that it's not enough to go around, that someone else's success somehow diminishes your own. When I began to focus on my own personal growth, when I decided to stop comparing myself to others and started believing that there was more than enough to go around, everything changed. I realized that the only thing that was truly scarce was my own mindset. I had been so focused on what I didn't have, on what I couldn't do, that I failed to see the abundance that was right in front of me. I failed to see that every opportunity I needed was already available to me, but I had to open my eyes and shift my perspective. This shift in mindset wasn't just a mental change. It was a complete transformation of how I viewed myself and the world around me. I stopped waiting for someone to give me permission to succeed. I stopped thinking that I needed to have the perfect circumstances in order to start. I realized that success wasn't something that happened to you. It was something you created through your actions, your beliefs, and your choices. The more I focused on myself, on becoming the best version of myself, the more opportunities I began to attract into my life. I stopped thinking that I was at the mercy of the world's circumstances. I stopped waiting for the world to give me what I wanted. I started taking responsibility for my own future. I began making decisions that were aligned with my goals and my vision, not based on what others thought or what seemed most convenient in the moment. And the more I did this, the more abundance began to flow into my life. This is what I want you to understand today. Abundance is not something that's out of your control. It's not something you have to wait for or hope to stumble upon. It's something that comes from the inside out. It comes from your beliefs, your mindset, and your ability to focus on your own growth. When you start focusing on your own transformation, on developing yourself and your skills, everything around you begins to shift. The opportunities you thought were out of reach start to appear. The resources you thought you lacked start to show up. And most importantly, you begin to see the world as a place full of endless possibilities instead of a place where there's not enough to go around. I want you to think about the most successful people you know, or the people you admire. Do you think they got to where they are by believing there was only so much success to go around? No, they created their own abundance by believing that there was more than enough success, wealth, and opportunity for everyone. They didn't wait for someone to give them a seat at the table. They built their own table. They didn't wait for the world to change for them. They changed their mindset and then changed the world around them. When you start focusing on yourself, when you stop looking outside of yourself for answers, you begin to tap into an unlimited well of potential. The opportunities that once seemed out of your reach become attainable because you've shifted your focus. Instead of focusing on the limitations of the world, you start focusing on your own unlimited capacity for growth. You stop thinking, I can't do that, and start thinking, what do I need to learn to make that happen? You stop focusing on what you lack and start focusing on the resources and strengths you already have. There's a beautiful thing that happens when you embrace this mindset of abundance. You begin to attract the things you need to succeed. It's like the universe starts conspiring in your favor But only once you shift your mindset to believe that you deserve it, that you have the power to create it, and that there's more than enough to go around. I can't tell you how many times in my own life I've seen this principle in action. When I focused on my own development, when I believed that there was enough for me, things began to fall into place in ways I could never have imagined. Doors began to open that I didn't even know existed. But here's the thing, this doesn't happen overnight. This shift in mindset, this belief in abundance, is something that takes time and intentionality. It takes practice. It takes the discipline to focus on yourself, to invest in your own growth, to learn, to adapt, and to believe in the possibilities. But once you commit to this path, once you believe that abundance is available to you, everything starts to change. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to attract the right people, the right situations, and the right resources, because you're no longer limited by a mindset of scarcity. I want to encourage you today, stop waiting for things to change. Stop looking at the world and believing that your circumstances dictate your future. The only thing that matters is your mindset. When you shift from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance, you unlock a world of possibility that you never thought was possible. And that, my friend, is the key to creating the life you've always wanted. In a world that's constantly trying to pull your attention in every direction, it's crucial to understand that success doesn't come from chasing after the loudest voices, the latest trends, or the constant demands of external validation. Success comes from mastering the discipline of staying focused. It comes from the ability to lock in on what truly matters and shut out everything else that doesn't serve your purpose. When you master this discipline, you will notice a shift in how you approach your goals and your life as a whole. You stop being a passive participant, reacting to what's happening around you, and you become an active creator of your own future. One of the biggest challenges we face today is the overwhelming amount of distractions that are constantly at our fingertips. We're inundated with notifications, messages, emails, and people vying for our attention. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of external demands and lose sight of what you're really working toward. But here's the thing, if you're constantly reacting to everything around you, you'll never have the space or energy to focus on what truly matters. You'll always be playing catch-up, never truly in control of your time, your goals, or your destiny. The power of focus is one of the most underrated tools for success. When you focus, you are actively choosing where to direct your energy and attention. And here's the key. Focus isn't just about cutting out distractions. It's about intentionally creating space for what matters most. It's about choosing your priorities and making the conscious decision to put your energy there, regardless of what the world around you is telling you to do. I learned this lesson the hard way. In the beginning, I was all over the place. I was reacting to everything. I thought that the more I did, the more I could achieve. I tried to be everywhere at once, working on multiple projects, networking with everyone, trying to meet all kinds of expectations. But in the process, I spread myself too thin. I wasn't giving enough attention to the things that truly mattered. And that's when I realized, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being productive. In fact, being busy without focus is one of the fastest ways to burn out and get nowhere. When I finally learned to focus, to cut out the distractions, to really hone in on the tasks and goals that were aligned with my vision, everything started to shift. Suddenly, I found that I had more time, more energy, and more clarity. The projects I was working on started to take off because I wasn't scattered anymore. I was giving them the attention they needed to grow. And here's the most important part. I wasn't doing more. I was doing less. But I was doing it with more intentional. I was focused, and that focus created momentum. The thing about focus is that it's not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every day you have to decide where to direct your energy. Every day you have to remind yourself of your purpose and choose not to get sidetracked by the noise around you. This is where discipline comes in. Focus requires discipline because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the next shiny object will be the thing that propels you forward. But success isn't built on chasing after every new opportunity. It's built on sticking with the things that matter, the things that are aligned with your goals, and giving them everything you have. You have to be able to say no. You have to say no to the distractions, to the things that don't serve you, to the people who aren't aligned with your vision. And this isn't always easy. It's tempting to get caught up in the noise, to think that you need to be everywhere and do everything. But if you're constantly saying yes to everything, you're saying no to your own future. You're spreading yourself too thin and diluting your efforts. The power of focus is in saying no to the things that don't serve you, so you can say yes to the things that will propel you forward. The truth is, when you start focusing on what truly matters, the distractions lose their power over you. You stop feeling like you need to be everywhere at once. You stop feeling like you need to keep up with every new trend or every new person. You get clear on what your mission is and start working toward it with a sense of purpose and direction. And when you do that, something incredible happens. Momentum builds. Progress is no longer a struggle. It becomes inevitable because your energy is aligned with your goals. The things that used to feel like obstacles become stepping stones because you're focused on the bigger picture. Another important part of focus is learning how to quiet your own mind. Our minds can be our biggest distractions. The constant stream of thoughts, the worries, the doubts, the what-ifs, they can pull us in a million different directions. But the key to true focus is the ability to silence that internal noise and concentrate on the task at hand. This requires practice, but it's something that will pay off in every area of your life. When you learn to focus your mind, you learn to focus your actions. And when you focus your actions, you create results. The power of focus is also about learning to be present. Too often we're either living in the past, regretting decisions we made, or worrying about the future, anticipating what might happen. But the only moment we truly have is now. The more present you can be, the more effective your focus becomes. When you're present, you're fully engaged in whatever you're doing, and that level of engagement creates a flow state where your productivity and creativity can soar. When you're fully in the moment, distractions fall away, and you begin to unlock your true potential. Success in its most profound form isn't about being the loudest or the busiest person in the room. It's about being the one who has the clarity to stay focused, the discipline to cut out the noise, and the wisdom to understand that all the answers you need are within you. When you focus on yourself, on your growth, and on your vision, you become unstoppable. Focus is your superpower. It allows you to control the direction of your life instead of letting the world pull you in every direction. It allows you to stay true to your purpose even when distractions are all around. And when you embrace the power of focus, you're not just working harder, you're working smarter. You're working with intention. And that's when success happens, when you focus on yourself, when you block out the noise of the world and put your attention on your own growth, transformation begins. You realize that all the answers you seek are within you. You stop looking for external validation, for the approval of others, and you start trusting in your own intuition, your own capability. The moment you stop relying on others to tell you who you are or what you're capable of, you take full control of your destiny. You begin to see that your success isn't contingent upon the opinions of others or the circumstances around you. It's dependent on the choices you make, the focus you maintain, and the action you take. I remember a time in my life when I was always seeking external validation. I was looking for others to tell me that I was on the right path, that I was doing the right thing. I wanted everyone's approval, and I thought that if I could just meet their expectations, then I would be successful. But the more I sought approval, the more I felt lost. I was always looking outside of myself for answers, for affirmation, for the right way to do things. And the truth is, I never found the answers I was looking for. Because the truth was, the validation I needed wasn't outside of me, it was inside me. The real power came when I stopped waiting for others to tell me I was on the right track and started trusting myself. When you focus on yourself, you begin to understand that your success is not dependent on anyone else's approval, anyone else's timeline, or anyone else's perception of you. You realize that you don't need anyone else to tell you when you're ready. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect opportunity to take action. You have everything you need right now to begin. The only thing that stands between you and the success you desire is your own willingness to focus on what truly matters, to trust yourself, and to take consistent, disciplined action. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. When you stop giving power to the opinions of others, you become free. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, or to seek permission to pursue your dreams. You begin to see that everything you need to succeed is already inside of you, waiting to be tapped into. The more you focus on your own growth, the more you discover your own strength, resilience, and potential. I'll tell you something I've learned along the way. When you start focusing on yourself, you start aligning your life with your deepest values. You begin to prioritize the things that matter most to you and let go of everything else. Your energy becomes aligned with your purpose, and you stop wasting time on things that don't contribute to your growth. The more you focus on yourself, the more you learn to say no to distractions and yes to your own potential. You stop being pulled in 1,000 different directions by the demands of others. And you start moving forward with clarity and intention. There is so much power in focusing on your own development. When you invest in yourself, when you spend time working on your skills, your mindset, and your vision, you build a solid foundation for success. You stop looking for shortcuts and start building something that lasts. You stop waiting for the world to hand you what you want, and you stop creating it yourself. The beauty of focusing on yourself is that it brings a sense of inner peace. You stop worrying about what others think of you or how they perceive your journey. Instead, you start to feel confident in your own decisions, in your own process, and in the steps you're taking toward your goals. You understand that the journey is yours, and yours alone, and you're no longer distracted by the opinions of others or the comparisons that used to hold you back. I know that when I began this journey of focusing on myself, I started to see things differently. The more I turned inward, the more I realized that my success wasn't about what I could do for others, but about what I could do for myself. And it wasn't just about selfishness, it was about self-empowerment. The more I worked on myself by taking care of my own needs, by investing in my own growth, I was better able to give to others in a meaningful and impactful way. And that's the truth about success. It's not about constantly seeking outside approval, constantly looking for external validation. Success is an inside job. It's about looking within, finding your own strength, your own drive, and your own purpose. When you focus on yourself, you begin to discover what truly drives you, what truly lights you up. You realize that the only person you need to impress is the person you see in the mirror every day. So as you move forward, remember this. Your success is not dependent on anyone else's timeline, expectations, or approval. It's not dependent on what others think of you or whether they think you're ready. It's dependent on you. It's about your commitment to focusing on yourself, your growth, and your vision. When you focus on yourself, when you make your own development a priority, everything else falls into place. You begin to attract the right opportunities, the right people, and the right resources. And the most beautiful part is that when you start focusing on yourself, you begin to live a life that is truly aligned with your purpose and your potential. You stop seeking validation and you start creating a life that is fulfilling, powerful, and uniquely your own.